Hi everyone, this is Pradeep Khanna from Sydney, once again presenting to you episode number 11 of GCC for the year 2021-22. Yes, this is the 11th episode since starting on 24th of July. We have been presenting one episode per week as we expand further and further the reach of GCC. From individuals, we went on to countries. We presented UK, Singapore, Canada. Then we presented batches, and we presented the second batch from IIT Delhi of 1967. And then we went on to hostels. And who else but Kailash Hospital? Well, I said hospital. Wow, the question is, was it a hospital or was it a hostel? Well, jokes apart, that was a snapshot of 1999 to 2002 Kailash that we presented last week. So what do we have for you today? Well, having started with Kailash 1999 to 2002, it was normal trajectory to go now to 1998. And for that, we will introduce yet another girl power to you as soon as we kick off the session. Then, of course, what I also want to present today is perspectives from wide range. Can I ask everybody to be on mute, please? And what I want to present today is a wide range of perspectives. Hang on a sec, somebody's phone is there. Let me mute everybody. Okay, now whenever anybody speaks now or is invited to speak, they can unmute themselves. So coming back to the focus point, which was the wide range of perspectives that we have from IIT Delhi alumni. We have from 1966 to 2020. So today we will present to you a perspective from 1977 to 2013. Somebody has got his mobile on. And Narinder, can I ask you to mute yourself? So today we will present to you perspectives from 1977 to 2013. And we'll be asking our alumni, what is the value proposition for them to the 1977 alumni as well as to 2013 alumni? What is the value proposition for them from GCC and from IITDAA? And of course, we are all into a community building exercise. And why not talk to one of our own who has been building communities for one of the IIMs? And yet at another level, one of our own has been at the highest level of governments. And so we will talk to someone who has been at a secretary level, who has been as an ambassador for India to a number of countries. And what has he been doing? And of course, we will also facilitate another alumni who's been recognized recently by getting the last decade's gold award. So ladies and gentlemen, let's kickstart the session. And being the gentleman that I am, I will be starting off with ladies. And I am delighted to present to you Sonal Goyal, 1998 B.Tech. Please give a round of applause to Sonal. Sonal,
thank you.
How are you, Sonal? And tell me, are you in Delhi? Are you in Noida? Are you in Gurgaon? Which part of NCR are you in? And who is the real Sonal? I know that you graduated in 1998, but what has Sonal been up to after 1998? So over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Pradeep. We're very excited to be here amongst, alumni so distinguished. It's actually a pleasure. And I think you know that, Kailash girls always fight it hard. So, although, I
Yeah,
mean, you've been gentlemanly and, introduced me first, but that's not a privilege I assume is always going to be mine.
I
So,
love it. I love it. I love the girl power.
so I will start with that. Yeah, so I'm based in Noida. I graduated in '98. I've had a very, I think, a very different journey from I think most graduates, or maybe everybody feels that's how it works. I worked, from '98. I joined an investment banking firm as part of the tech team, and I worked in various capacities in various kinds of technology oriented roles till around 8 to 10 years. And then I branched out on my own because I wanted to do even more challenging work. I was getting a bit tied up with the routine corporate jobs. And I branched out on my own, started independent consulting around any kind of, I think, tech. Started with, loose tech-based roles, complex problems which are not very easily solved. At that time, remote, etc., was not very normal. But I would take up, very complex projects which people were racking their brains with. So I was lucky enough to continue to get work there. And I think just one thing just kept leading to another. I started working on the data domain, did some open source work. It became decently popular for me to, incorporate a company because people stopped, at one stage, people want a corporate instead of an individual. And I think that's where the journey started. I think that's where the real entrepreneur bug kind of got me. I've been working on the data, machine learning, big data, distributed system side for a long time now, almost 15 years. And I am currently working on a product. This product is very interesting. I just open sourced it 2 weeks ago, so you can catch the excitement in my voice. It's a data mastering and deduplication product. It ensures that all records across all systems in a company are linked if they belong to the same customer or to the same supplier. It's a cool piece of technology I've been working on. I'm very excited in these early days as it
So,
gains
couple
traction.
of comments which come to my mind. One is that there appears to be no doubt that you are the data girl. Now, data is the new currency. So, are you a very rich girl?
I'm definitely rich by experience. I don't know about the finances, but my
And
experience is definitely very rich.
the second point which comes to my mind is that a lot of us have hung up our boots and started or trying to do something on our own quite late in life. But I love your passion that you decided to go on your own journey. And like I always say, that it's great to follow one's passion, but passion doesn't always pay the bills. So how do you kind of balance the two out, And you've done it fairly early in life, which is great. So what's the story over there?
Okay, so I would not have any, particular thing to share except that, I always chose to refuse a lot more work than I was getting. I was fortunate in the sense, but I think that I always got work. I think the positioning for me was because I was able to solve, I get into a niche and a narrower, kind of problems that were not very easy to solve for a majority of people, not for all. But I think those skills became valuable, the skills that I kept picking up and learning. And I think that's what, enabled me to continue on this path without worrying too much about
Oh,
the
I love
bills.
it, but it's really fabulous that you see. One is that you are, you have created a world for yourself where you've been working on niche problems, which are challenging problems, and therefore that gives you the job satisfaction. But at the same time, you've been in a great position to decline work and only pick and choose work that you want to work on. That's a great position to be in. Now, uh, another thing is, what about your family side? What does your husband do? How many kids do you have? And who's the boss at home? You or your husband?
So I would say I have two teenagers, and I guess when you have two teenagers, you no longer can, me or my husband cannot remain bosses any
Sonal,
longer.
you've got two teenagers. You look so young.
I have two girls, 15 and 13, and it's pretty much a democratic, I think, a very liberal household. Everybody is,
I
has strong
love that. I
opinions.
love that. So
We are
everybody's a
fighting.
boss. Everybody's a
Every,
boss, and everybody's
of
I
their
love.
own, yes. I stay fairly busy at work, but at the same time, I don't like to be micromanaged, and I don't micromanage. I hope so. I think I don't. I think my kids will disagree, the girls will disagree.
Well, I will
And
have to ask
my
your husband about that, but that's for another time. Now,
yeah.
see, now from a GCC perspective or IIT Delhi Alumni Association perspective, what would be the value proposition that you would like to see? Would it be professional networking? Would it be, social networking? Would it be mentoring, give back? Would it be something that you are passionate about? Would it be technology? What is the value proposition that you would look forward to in GCC?
Okay, so I think IIT to me means just a community of really very very smart people. I mean, people who are just out of the world. I think to connect with them at any level, I would I'm not really looking for a professional networking here. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always thinking about work. I would prefer to, have to get to know more people. Uh,
So it is
I
that
think that's,
emotional connect about
I would
that
say,
nostalgia and
yeah.
being feeling with the same community that you spend
Just
most of the time.
exchanging ideas about so many things happening around us, around the world, around environment. Maybe I think, I mean, we all have our passions.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's always going to be enriching to connect with a fellow alum. I would not. I'm very happy to get mentored by my seniors or even juniors who've done far better than I have. And I'm also willing to help out or mentor if anybody finds me worthy enough. I'm not sure if I am in that category.
Well,
Yeah, but
Sonal, I think
socially, yes.
this is exactly one of the things you see, which see, you're so modest. I mean, you decline work, you pick and choose work. It can't be a better word than that. And of course, you've got a very nice democracy at home. So you can't get better than that. But anyway, uh, why I'm asking this question is because when I look back and I say that I've been living in Australia for 31 years. I have been a graduate for what I have to count 44 years now. And have I been really connected with my institute? To be honest, no. So I only in the last 1 year or so, after the director dean etc came to Australia, but that's a different story. But really, the point is that we need to create a platform where different people connect with each other on whatever value they perceive, and that's why it's very important for all of us to understand that because you've got such a wide spectrum. So, what is the value proposition do we kind of build upon? What kind of special interest groups do we pick upon? Now, on a different front, you know, what about your hobbies? What kind of hobbies do you have? And also, the four girls, actually five girls that we presented last Saturday. Do
Right.
you know any one of them?
Yeah, of course I know them. I know Anchal, I know Aditi. I'm not sure if I've missed anybody else, but yes,
So, what a
yeah,
shame! I should have got you last time, but it's just that we met
yeah.
only after
We
that.
could
But
have had a mini Kailash
I know.
to get together.
So, tell me about your hobbies. Any hobbies that you have?
Definitely, yeah. I do a bit of gardening. I have a mango tree, luckily.
Hmm.
Yeah, and yes, I do a bit of flowers and fruits and some vegetables. And I read a lot. I read a lot of tech as well as non-tech biographies, fiction, and I cook.
So
I
when I come to India, I have now been grounded in Sydney for last 18 months because our international borders are closed. So when I come to India, and I visit you, so will I get to eat some mangoes from your
Def-
garden or something like that?
if it's the season, yes,
Oh,
definitely.
fabulous.
Otherwise, I hope I can cook up a good dish for you.
Fabulous, fabulous. Love it. And on another note, there's a very popular program on gardening in Australia. It's called Burke's Backyard.
Okay,
And
I'll check it
the
out.
kind of a person I am, I'm very kind of physically, I don't like to do gardening, and I don't like, all I can do, I'm very happy sitting in front of my laptop or reading and all that kind of a thing. So I used to, when I first came to Australia, I used to be very surprised, what is this program? Why are so people so fond of this program? But talking to you, I can know that not everybody is not like me. But yes, people really enjoy working in the garden. So it's so nice to hear about it. So Sonal, it's been absolutely fabulous to talk to you. And I am, after this call, I will have another call with you, and we'll look at how to expand this community and in the area which you are passionate about and which you kind of care about. So
Absolutely.
thank you
Sure.
so much for coming over. And please, ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to Sonal. And yes,
Thank
Sonal,
you
you
so much.
have to find one 1997 graduate.
I will. Definitely, I will ping you back.
Take care and talk to you
Thank you.
later. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
Now, let's see whether our friend Deepak doesn't seem to be. Deepak, are you there? Not sure whether Deepak has joined or not. Deepak is the guy that we are supposed to be felicitating today, and he has accepted the invite. He's somewhere in the US, and we'll find out what's happening to him. But in the next instance, let's go across to Ambassador Pradeep Kapur, जिसको हम प्यार से पीके कहते हैं. Pradeep, how are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? Where are you now? Are you in Maryland at the moment? Where are you?
We are grounded in Maryland and Washington, D.C. Thanks to COVID. You've not been able to travel to India or Australia or anywhere else for the last 18
So I think
months.
in your case, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for Pradeep. He is possibly one of the most well-known alumni. We see his face on and off. Of course, Pradeep and I go back a long way, just about 47 years, but that's all right. So, Pradeep, always, to begin with, I have to ask you this question. So, why did you join M.Tech? Was it to prepare for the IIFS exam, or did you actually want to learn something about management systems?
So, well, first of all, I have to say before I start on my life journey and what I did and why I did M.Tech, what I want the group to acknowledge is the phenomenal contribution by my batchmate and my friend whom we love very dearly in our entire batch, Pradeep Khanna, another PK. But fortunately, I had the PK, Monica. But he's absolutely, most phenomenal in terms of his infinite energy, in terms of his contributions to the world in education, in AR, VR, contributions to the alma mater, IIT, Delhi. And there is hardly anybody who I can think of who's making such absolutely mind-boggling contribution to keep the flag flying high. So a big round of applause to Pradeep Khanna in the first instance.
So, folks, this is exactly
Pradeep,
why.
one second more.
I set up GCC. It's like it becomes a platform where you can easily kind of backchat each other, kind of a stuff. But anyway, thank you very much. Love to help.
No, in the sense that, see, the alma mater, what does it mean? The literal translation is a nourishing mother, one who gives you nutrition, a soul, mother. So, and you, the way you're paying back to the alma mater is absolutely incredible. So I really appreciate that. Our entire batch appreciates that. A large number of people beyond our batch appreciate that. So about M.Tech, let me tell you, I finished my B.Tech, but my life goal and aim was always to join the foreign service. One second. So From, let us say, mid-school, I had sort of focused that, this is something which I want to do in life. And now how do I get there? So I sort of decided that IIT would be a good insurance policy. And because in the, just like in the IITs, if you have 1 million people appearing and a few thousand getting in the foreign service, it's even worse. There are maybe 500,000 people appearing and a few tens getting in. So IIT was an insurance policy. B.Tech worked out very well with electrical with you, Pradeep. It was such fun. It was such a fun ride, non-stop. And so after B.Tech, I sort of started, because undergraduation is necessary for IFS, IAS. So then I thought that how do we do that? So since we had been enjoying so much in IIT, I said, why not continue? And that was, I guess, a little bit of fun also, but working there gave me the facilities, Pradeep, to study for the civil services non-stop. I was in the library, IIT library at 6 a.m. in the morning, the moment it would open, and get out at midnight and go to sleep because I was so tired. So
you were
M.Tech gave
responsible
me
for all
the
those.
scholarship.
So you were responsible for all the lecture bills going up for IITDAA.
So anyway, it was a platform, and doing the systems and management course as probably the second batch was a very easy walk through. It didn't require much effort. The professors were already good friends. So they sort of looked the other way when you were sleeping in the class because you're studying all the time. So anyway, that is why I did M.Tech, and it worked out very well. And foreign service, again, being a sort of a very iffy thing, I didn't expect to get a good rank because the interview was a total disaster. The entire interview board sort of, seemed as if they had ganged up against me, the questions they were asking, which I couldn't answer at all. So when I came back to the hostel, Vindhyachal, first I was in Karakoram for my B.Tech, and IIT was such a fun place, great blessing, great gift. So Vindhyachal, I come back, and the first thing I do after coming out from the IIT interview, IAS interview, sorry, civil services interview, UPSC. I'm sweating. I come back to the hostel and I take a shower and I write a letter to MIT that I'm joining MIT, because I realized my interview was a disaster. But what happened was, the results came out. Some of the people on the interview panel sort of overcompensated for the chair who was gunning for me and gave me very high marks. So I was in the top few ranks of the civil services. So that's how I got through the IFS.
So how many people were there in your batch? How many people joined IFS?
Well, there were 20 people, and
20?
That was 20 people, yeah. Out of 500,000 people who appear.
Wow.
Now they are taking in a little more because our numbers in the world are very, very small. This is the smallest foreign service in the world in so many ways, in the sense that USA, where I'm currently based, has very large numbers, 14,000 foreign service personnel from the foreign ministry, 22,000 diplomats from other ministries and departments. Russia 9,000, China 6,000, India 700. So for the global footprint that we have, the requirements for the future, for India's global role, it is not at all adequate or appropriate, or it requires to be expanded manifold. So the burden on each foreign service officer is absolutely phenomenal. So it's one of the most challenging jobs that you can think of.
Also, what I want to understand is that, yes, you became a secretary to the government of India. You were ambassador to a number of countries. But what is even so more fascinating when I look at it is that post your foreign service career, you've actually been more active. I remember, visiting Maryland with you, and you were with that University of Maryland. You were a professor over there. You were, still involved with so many. You wrote a book on the health issues, COVID. Every TV I see, you were speaking and giving your perspectives. So, what exactly are you doing now? And tell me more about the book that you wrote. Why? What made you? You're not a doctor, so what made you write that book?
Well, in the sense, the foreign service, as I was saying, is if you want to make the most of it, it's the best platform. It's a macro sort of level job which you can do for your country. So it's a lot of learning also. It's a great gift to have from God, because it's the Wikipedia describes the Indian Foreign Service as a heaven-born service. It's not just a silver spoon, born with a silver spoon in your mouth. It's a heaven-born service. So that's the sort of possibilities you have to work for the country and for the world. So after finishing my tenure as Secretary, Government of India, and ambassador in a few countries, I got this offer to work in academics. I had been actually involved with academics as a foreign service officer, as the first foreign service officer to get assigned as a faculty member from the Government of India in USA at Georgetown University in 91-92 to teach in the School of Foreign Service, the Institute for the Study of Diplomacy, under a UN fellowship as a third world diplomat. So anyway, I had taught in Sorbonne in Paris, I had taught in Theseus Institute, I had taught in Cambodia, I taught in Chile, I taught in Nepal. So that link, that interest in academics was always there. And I joined academics in the US, but while I was doing academics, I also sort of fostered a lot of academic interactions between India and the US. And I do keep on training Government of India officers for their senior level promotions, even now, regularly. But while I am here, one of the things which I decided to do was see how COVID had hit the world so hard. And there's nothing which the world, and if we sit down and pause and reflect for a minute, no living person in the world today has been hit so hard by anything in his entire life as the COVID. Last time there was something which only people over 100 years old may remember, was the Spanish pandemic, Spanish flu pandemic, where millions died again. So World War II was bad, but not as bad as COVID, in the sense that if you were a direct combatant country, you were impacted significantly. If you were not, you could be safe. Here, nobody, no leader of the world is safe. No government in the world can manage to cope with this, with all the weapons, with all the strength, with all the resources at their command. It is a new paradigm. It's a new shift. So new solutions are required. So sitting back, thinking about all the experience I had working with world leaders, with the people of, all the continents. I'd worked, except Australia, as you know. I have worked in Africa extensively. I've worked in Asia extensively, Cambodia, Nepal. I've worked in Europe extensively, France, Spain, UK. I've worked in North America, USA, South America, Chile. So all the continent with the leaders and the people. So I thought, why not bring all that rich experience and expertise to the, knowledge of the world. So we discussed, I wrote this book with a very close friend of mine who's a physician, who brought in that aspect. I brought in the aspect of geopolitics, geoeconomics, geostrategy, geothinking, in the sense that what is WHO up to? What is UN up to? Are they delivering or not delivering? So the book has done well. The title is Beyond the COVID Pandemic, Envisioning a Better World by Transforming the Future of Healthcare. So I will try to show this book on the screen. Let me just switch off the video screen, and then it's an Amazon bestseller, by the way. So it's doing well. There's a lot of demand for continuously. It continues. Even yesterday, a day before, I was with the Stanford University. They were discussing the Ideal Village Center, and they asked me to bring up discussion on the book also on the healthcare aspect, because they talk, and I mentioned there that there are 898 million people in India who are in the villages of India. 900, almost 900 million. What does that mean? More than the population of the entire North America and South America put together. USA, Canada, Mexico, Central America, Caribbean, South America. Continents, two biggest continents. Entire population of Africa, 55 countries now, more than that, Indian rural population. Entire population of Europe, much more than that, Indian rural population. So if you have that sort of population, how do you sort of look after their interests? How do you bring it to the world's focus? So that was also the purpose. And we have fortunately succeeded to a significant extent, not to the extent that one would have aspired for or dreamt of, but to a very great extent. In the sense, it's
So the
Medscape
only observation that I would make is that somebody who would be at your level, all he has to actually do is to sit very and look very knowledgeable and scratch his chin or something like that. But you actually talk. Love it. I love the wonderful perspectives. I love how you are integrating, and at the same time, I can see that there is another of our class fellows. There is yet one more, but there's another of our class fellows who's in the session today. Will Rakesh Sateva please stand up and put on your video and unmute yourself?
Well, there's another one also, Rakesh Sadeva. Then there's Rajesh Chopra. Then there's Arvind Bugga.
There are quite a
Pradeep
few.
Khanna.
There are quite a few, but I wanted to kind of highlight. Hi, Rajesh, how are you? And Rakesh Sateva, where are you? Please, and I can see you. You can't hide now. Now, guys, you got to excuse us because there are quite a few of the 1977 batch people who are sitting over there. And this is what is the beautiful nature of the relationship and the camaraderie which is there even after 47 years, that we can just pick and kind of just we just like as we were back in IIT. Now, PK, what I want to ask you is that what is the value proposition that you think GCC should have? Is it give back? Is it mentoring? Is it professional networking? Is it social networking? Is it for a particular cause? What is it?
Well, it is everything you have mentioned and much more, Pradeep. What I feel is, firstly, to give back to IIT Delhi in terms of the work that you're doing. But beyond that, how can we make it an internationally acknowledged and accepted as one of the best institutes in the world by improving? And when I was talking to the IIT Delhi director, Professor Rao, Ramgopal Rao, we had set up a very nice interaction with the ambassadors of various countries in Delhi. There were a very large number of embassies and ambassadors in the seminar room, and not in the seminar room, in the Senate room next to the director's office. So what we were trying is to, we had analyzed it very, very closely as to why Indian IIT Delhi is not in the top ranks. And while it's on the top position in many areas, in some areas it was falling behind. What are those areas? Internationalization of what? Students, of faculty. Very small representation of students from outside India. Very small representation of faculty from outside India. And some other aspects like, the facilities overall. Bathrooms, which we all remember in our Karakoram hostel, for example, stinking 10 miles away. So all those sort of facilities, rooms, though good quality, but still not at all international quality. So when I work in a university like the University of Maryland, College Park, which is just an average and a very good ranking in the public area, public universities area, but not at all in terms of the world acknowledgement as the IIT or IIT Delhi. I see the facilities there, my goodness, 7,000, 10,000 acres of land, and lab facilities, dorm facilities, classroom facilities, phenomenally superior to IIT Delhi. So how do we now make our people think that what we are doing is not at all up to international quality? And that is like France, for example, after Second World War, Charles de Gaulle, he wrote his autobiography. He said, France only exists when it is at its best. What did that do? I teach my classes. I say, what is France the best in the world for? And there are 20, 30, 40 things which the list increases immediately. Perfumes and fashion and wines and food is just the beginning. Trains and so many things. And non-stop, it continues the list. Even the first internet of the world was called Minitel in France, which was about 15 years before the internet. The world doesn't know. So the list is quite endless. And similarly for India, we have to get into that sort of paradigm. We will get into it, but we need to make it more and more common, with starting with the IITs. So that is a value proposition for the IIT. The other value proposition, which I can suggest here, is that each one of us, take a pledge that we have to do something for our motherland, our country of birth. While we are doing a lot for our country of where we are working now, our karma bhumi, but do something for the janma bhumi, whether it is with your time or with your talent or with your treasure, the 3 T's. So, or not, or and in the sense, devote some money, 100%, devote some time, and devote some thought to improving the country and the IIT's ecosystem. So we are doing that way, and we welcome your support, Pradeep, for that. There is a Wheels Global Foundation. I'll just mention as a value proposition for this group also. Wheels is an acronym for W for water, healthcare, education, energy, livelihoods, and sustainability. What is Wheels? Pan IIT entity. How did it start? Prof. This President Abdul Kalam. He came to the US. He told the IIT, you're talking about value proposition? He asked the same question. He said, what is your value proposition to your country of birth, which has given you which has made you what you are today, which has given you this comfort of living in this big house, this big country, this beautiful land, etc., etc. So all these IITians, they got a little bit of a knock and a shock. And then they started thinking and talking. And out of that was born Wheels Global Foundation. So Wheels works in India with this massive rural population, which I'm telling you about, in a significant manner, including with a lot of IIT alumni from India. So that is another platform which we would be very happy to welcome in any shape or form, any support from your phenomenal support group, Pradeep.
So, Pradeep, this is absolutely fabulous, because I strongly believe that we've got to synergize and make 1 plus 1 is equal to 11. That is how we need to collaborate. And last week only, I was in a discussion with the Pan IT chair for UK. This is how we've got to work together. It's, and kind of really. So I really look forward to, carrying forward the discussion. But it's been absolutely fabulous. Now tell me, do you know how many zeros are there? Because you have been representing 1.2 billion people. Do you know how many zeros are there in 1.2 billion?
Well, I would say not 1.2 billion people, Pradeep. 1.4 billion people. Officially, census will declare that over 1.4 billion people very soon. But beyond that, what we also see as representatives are 2 other categories which people don't realize. One is all of you all over the world, which is another maybe 40 million people of Indian origin diaspora. And I don't know how many tens of millions of people following the Indian thought, which I've closely interacted with in all the countries that I've worked in. The Hare Krishna, the Brahma Kumaris, the Sai Babas, the art of living, and so on and so forth. And the Sikhs, for example, non-Indian Sikhs, what are called the white Sikhs, etc. So those numbers are very large and growing. So our influence today, if I work in a country like Chile, I go to meet the president of Chile, and I'm sitting in his ante room, and one of his senior officers comes up to me. He says, "Sir, can I touch you?" I say, "Sure." So he says, "Touching you gives me a feel of touching the soul of India. I am a Hare Krishna. My
Oh my God.
assumed name is so and so.
Oh my
Anything
God.
you need to do in the office of the president of Chile, you let me know." And this is an experience which repeats itself if I go to meet some governor or some mayor or anywhere, either the secretary or some other person in that office comes up and does namaste to me. He says he just wants to be near me or touch me because of this reason. So the influence which India has is phenomenal. For thousands of years, we have had a very, very bona fide outlook to the world. So we are sort of, India is respected maybe a zillion times. You're talking about billion, I can tell you the number of zeros in a zillion or a trillion. Zillion times more than China or any other country of the world by the biggest majority ever possible in the world, by leaders, by the common people everywhere. So the respect which India has, and that respect is increasing globally because of the Indian diaspora like you, who do good work in whichever country you're in. Like somebody was talking just the other day in the US. She said, "I've done an analysis of all the jails and all the inmates in all the jails of US. And who are they? They are Caucasian Americans, they are African Americans, they are Latinos."
So there seem to be some connectivity issues. So at this stage, please give a big round of applause to Pradeep. And let's pick up on Pradeep later on. At this stage, I also want to, just before, and this is outside the agenda, but because I saw Rakesh Sadev, Rakesh, can you unmute yourself?
Certainly.
And Rakesh, can you tell me how many zeros are there in $1 billion?
Oh, too many.
Hispanics.
Too many.
And how
But
many?
For
yeah, too many.
everybody, for
Yeah,
everybody's attention, Rakesh is also a 77 batchmate. And Rakesh is the chairman of a couple of companies in the US, equivalent of $20 billion of revenue. Not that that is really important in the environment that we are talking about. But what it goes to show is when I look at people like Pradeep Kapur, when I look at people like Rakesh Sajay, when I, there are furthermore people that will be meeting further down this today's session, etc., is where the IITs have, really shown they have risen to the highest levels. So a big kudo to all of you and to IIT in general. And Rakesh, I will be in touch with you because I will be getting you to come for this session in a much more detailed chat.
sure. Hey, I just want to echo what Pradeep Kapur said. You're just doing a fabulous job. The energy that you bring to these sessions at the late hour that you sit in Sydney is just phenomenal. So kudos and thanks to you. And really good to hear from so many young alumni who are doing so fabulously well. So my congratulations to you, and obviously great to see Pradeep Kapur as well. So
thank you so much. And before I let you go, Rakesh, what value proposition would you see from IIT Delhi and from IITDAA as well as GCC? What appeals to you most?
Well, I think just this networking that you're making happen is phenomenal because, like you, I've been away for so many years, and bad on me that I have not kept up with the institution. And so I look forward to, these small networks and any ability for me to help people who are here in the US or even in India, and bring some value through our experience and impart those to the young people. So yeah, I look forward to that.
Thank you so much. And we will please give a round of applause to Rakesh Sadev, and we will catch up with Rakesh in one of the later sessions. But from 77, I want to go to 2013. That's how many years? Let me count. 23 plus 13 is equal to 36 years. And let me welcome who else? Deepak Vasisht. Deepak, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hey, thank you so much for your introduction.
Man, even you at 2013, you lost so many hair, yeah? You look almost like a 1977 batch person, man. So Deepak is 2013 graduate from IIT Delhi. He's at the moment, he's a professor in Urbana-Champaign, and he is also the recipient of the recent IIT Delhi awards, which are given to people from the last decade. So first of all, please give a fabulous round of applause to Deepak. And I was
Ajay Mehra has also joined. Ajay Mehra has also joined.
So sweet, Ajay, how are you? But so this is what I wanted to bring about was that at one level you've got people who are now in 60s, 1977 batch. The other level you've got people who are relatively young in their career. So first of all, Deepak, could you walk us through what has been your journey post IIT? What did you do? You
Yeah,
finished in
absolutely.
2013. How did you end up in US? In our time, I know that
Yes.
50% people used to go to US, but I believe things have changed quite radically now. So what happened?
Yeah, so in 2013, I signed up for a PhD. So I went to MIT to get my PhD in computer science. That's what I did in my undergrad as well. And yeah, and I was there for about 5-6 years. So in 2019, I graduated, and since then I've been a professor at the University of Illinois. In between, I've been working at Microsoft Research as well. So I was I've been there intermittently at multiple smaller durations.
So a question, and one of the very good reasons is we interacted last year, when Somnath Mitra introduced the both of us.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And Somnath, thank you so much for that, because Somnath said that Deepak has done some very good, excellent work in IoTs. And we were looking at an special interest group which was focused on to emerging technologies. And that's how the whole conversation started when Somnath connected Deepak with me. So I remember you from that time. But today I want to particularly pick up that what value proposition would you look forward to, from GCC, or what would really attract you to GCC or IIT Delhi?
Yeah, so I think the thing that I've really liked is that I get to see a lot of like senior and junior alumni and what they're working on, because that's I think as a previous speaker mentioned, right, that this is what we get out of it, the networking and getting to know like what everyone is working on, and the idea is that at different times in our career, we need to reach out to someone. Say let's say I start doing something in VR at some point. I'm like, hey, who do I reach out to? Then I know someone to reach out to. So I think that's probably the best value proposition I get out of it. I must say that the GCC like the GCC videos sort of keep me updated more than I was like I was right, like I wasn't as connected with the broader alumni body as much. Perhaps because, right, like I'm yet to think of myself as an alumni. It's just been like 6-7 years. I do connect with all of my friends from IIT all the time, but I don't connect with alumni as much, or maybe like alumni who are like, let's say, more than a couple of years away. So I would still run into people who are 2 years senior, for example, in the Bay Area and talk to them, but not like people from the like 1980s, 1990s, and these are the people who have actually traversed like a lot more career, so they have a lot more experience. So I would love to hear from them, and that's what GCC has made happen. So I really love that.
So I think this is the point that you actually hit the nail on the head, is that all of us are very much in touch with our batch. Yeah. And possibly 1 or 2 batches, senior to us, and 1 or 2 batches junior to us, and some people who are in our hostels. But that opportunity, I think, creating a platform where we're able to connect with anybody and everybody across right from 1966 to 2020, and that is what in next session of GCC I'll be presenting to you a 2020 graduate and a 1967 graduate. So this is, I love it. And Deepak, it's been absolutely phenomenal, I was so delighted when I saw your name on the list of the awardees. So I remembered Somnath, and I remembered you at that particular point in time. And I remembered that, that we were to pick up on the discussion of IoT, and we will get you, we will have a subsequent call. Somnath, myself, and you will have a call and to take this forward. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, please give a fabulous round of applause for the great work that Deepak has been doing. And I look forward to getting you more involved into GCC. Thank you so much, Deepak.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Now we move across to another gentleman. For end of the day, what are we doing? We are building a platform, yes, but we are building a community. And building a community has three elements. One is growing the community, second is engaging with the community, and third is going into value creation. So I want to introduce to an alumni who has been doing something similar for IIM Calcutta. And by the way, coincidentally, he just happens to be another 1977 batchmate of mine. So I didn't want to call it as a 1977 batch presentation because there are so many of us who are doing some very, very interesting work. But I coincidentally kind of brought together some important perspectives. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to Arvind Bugga, 1977 B.Tech and 1979 IIM Calcutta. Arvind, are you there? You are on mute.
Yes, Pradeep, I have been following your instructions religiously, so I've been on mute ever since you ordered us to do so.
I love it. See, this is what the beauty of, having known each other for 42 or 47 years now is, that we can still joke about whatever we want. So, Arvind, I want to pick up, first of all, tell us what you have been doing once you finished the IIT. Of course, IIM Calcutta is, very logical. All of us sit for, the IIM exams and then you join. But what did you do after IIM?
So, I actually, after IIM Calcutta, got into the field of advertising, which was not so uncommon those days. Today's MBAs, I don't think get into advertising.
Just one question at this stage. Did you get into advertising because of the glamour of all those models in advertising?
No, not really. Although I must confess, I've had my share of interacting with various glamorous models, and I have interacted very closely with Sunny Leone also. So, there's been that, but no, that was not the main reason for joining. I just got into it and then I liked it and I stuck on with it. I had options of moving out and I decided to stay on in it. Yeah.
So how long were you in advertising?
Well, I'm actually in a way still in advertising. So you could say that ever since I passed out in 1979, I've been in advertising only.
So tell me that at the moment, the discussion about content there's a hell of a lot of discussion going on that is content a commodity or is content gold? Especially with, so much of information available to us. So tell me, what is your perspective, having spent some time in advertising? And also out of curiosity, are you on your own at the moment or do you work for somebody?
Yeah, so right now I'm running my own content marketing outfit. It goes by the name of Wiltel. I've been doing this for the last 5 years, but prior to that, I was working, as I told you, with various ad agencies. So it's interesting that you've asked this question. I think if you look at advertising, the way it was practiced in the 80s, 90s, even to a large extent, it was one-way communication from the brand to the customer. So, you created some communication and then you blasted it on television, in newspapers, on radio, in cinema halls, etc. Now, we all know what are the changes that have taken place in the last, 15, 20 years, particularly, where the communication between the brand and the customer is now a two-way communication. So the in many ways, the customer is very powerful. He can, in a negative sense and in a positive sense, bring brands to their knees. So there have been, I don't want to give examples, but there have been lots of examples of brands in India which ran afoul of customers and, they were forced to backtrack. So the consumer has become much more powerful. And I think the difference between advertising and content is that in content, you don't have the option of now bombarding the customer with something and he has nothing else to do or no other choice. Content is a way by which you actually need to attract the consumer or the customer to come to you. And he need not necessarily look at what you're doing. Like, to give you an example, in the old days, if you advertised on Chitrahar on Doordarshan, you were practically guaranteed viewership because there were no programs and there was only one channel. So today there are, any consumer customer has dozens of options. So I'm talking about right now purely from the brand point of view. I think it's important to create content which customers find engaging, come to on their own, whether it's through your blogs or it's through articles or whatever. So there's been that shift of power from the brand to the consumer. And in that shift, the content plays a very important.
So you mentioned about blogs and all that. So what do you give, vent to your creative urges by writing? Or is that something that you do?
Sorry, Pradeep, your voice is not very clear to me.
So what I was saying was that you mentioned blogs. Now, do you give way to your creative urges by writing?
Oh yes, I do a lot of writing now, and it needn't only be blogs. It could be websites, it could be coffee table books, it could be blogs, it could be PR articles, it could be books. So yes, although I began my advertising career as a strategist, and those days the roles of the strategist and the creative person used to be very distinct. Now the two have merged into one another. So I do a fair amount of writing myself, and in fact,
so I would be keen to have a later discussion with you, because we are in the process of getting together an editorial board. The word editorial really sounds it as very big kind of a office or something like that. That's why I call it editorial board. To get you more involved, because we were picking up a couple of people from across the world who have been into this creative skills, and it'll be very good to get you more involved. But on another front, I also heard that you spent some time in education.
Yes, so I was the head of marketing and communication for BML Munjal University, which has been promoted by the Hero Group. I mean, for the benefit of those who are overseas, the Hero Group is a pretty large, it's a $5 billion conglomerate in India, and they were most famous for launching motorcycles, Honda motorcycles in India under the name Hero Honda. Yes. So I was the head of marketing and communications there. So it was in a sense an extension of my, that was the one deviation you could say I made from advertising, but it did involve a lot of communication too. And the interesting thing about BML Munjal University was that it was a new university. And for any new university in India, getting students of the right caliber is always a challenge. You see, in education, if you're willing to drop your standards, you'll always get students. Suppose you say, okay, as long as, even if you've got 50%, if you have the money, your father has the money to pay, you join, and you can do your MBA or B.Tech from here. But that's a very dangerous path to go down on, because those students ultimately will not get jobs. Then your student will, your institute will get a reputation for bad placement. So it's very important that you make the institute attractive enough to attract the right kind of students and the right kind of faculty also. So yes, that was an interesting
deviation, so as to say.
And apart from that, since I mean, I've personally been interested in education, so I taught GRE and GMAT at the Princeton Review. So I've done that kind of coaching. I'm right now there's a leading boarding school in India called Mayo College at Ajmer. So I've been involved in the revamp of their website. So yes, I'm quite involved with the education world. Yeah.
So you see, when did you become the NCR, chapter leader for IIM Calcutta? How many years back was that? And why did you take up that role?
Well, it's been more than 10 years now since I took up that role. And part of the reason was, I just felt I owed it to the institute. I mean, so whatever I could contribute in terms of raising the profile of IIM Calcutta, I'd like to do that. So that was, I would say, the primary motivation for taking up the job or the role. It's actually quite it's not an easy job because it does take up often a lot of your time, but still I did it reasonably happily. And, small things like, for example, if you're organizing get-togethers, etc., then since you don't have a huge staff, at your beck and call, if you have to organize a conference or whatever, then you've got to get involved in the nitty-gritties of talking to the India Habitat Center or wherever you're doing it. So, yeah. And the thing which I really liked about that was that I ran a lecture series at the Habitat Center for about 2 years, where we invited alumni in prominent positions, from various leading companies, and they gave talks about their experience and what it takes to make it big. And that was open not just to IIM Calcutta alumni, but to the public at large, including IHC members. So that ran for about 2 years. That was quite successful. Yeah.
So I suppose here is something similar that we are doing at GCC. And we are talking of almost about a similar set of professionals. So what was the value proposition that you found which worked well with the IIMC community?
So I think the value proposition which worked best with the IIM Calcutta community, and in fact with the IIM community in general, is networking for jobs or for business development. I mean, so yes, there was an element of bonhomie, camaraderie, etc. But I think that was a huge value proposition. Can I network with people who can help me get a better job? And can I network with people who will help me, this is particularly for entrepreneurs, develop my business? So I would say these are the two most important value propositions which I feel work with, at least with the IIM community right now in Delhi.
So exactly in a similar vein, just like the IIT Delhi alumni, there is a big variation in terms of the profile. You also have graduates who finished off in, either early 70s, 1970s or late 1960s. And you also have the graduates who finished off in 2020. So how varying are the interests of such a wide span?
Yeah, so, I have been, there is an IITD alumnus called Rajbir Singh who runs, I don't know if it's still on or it's stopped because of COVID. He used to mentor startups from IIT Delhi itself. And I've attended quite a few of those sessions. One thing I found is that perhaps some IIT alumni and students are not as marketing savvy as, let us say, the people from the IIMs, because in the IIMs we are, given formal courses in marketing. So they do not appreciate the importance of things like branding, logo, marketing, advertising, communications, etc. So I think one value proposition for IIT alumni could be, and I'm saying this in all humility, I'm not trying to say that they don't know marketing, but could be to advise those people who recognize that this is a limitation in themselves to get some inputs in that area. And then, of course, there is the standard thing about networking and business development.
What about people who are in your profile, which are, say, 1979 or 1971, pass out from IIM Calcutta, what value proposition would they be looking for? Or what would you be looking for?
Yeah, so we could look at doing something special which is relevant to the older age groups. For example, there could be health related topics, so people who are in their 60s, etc., now start thinking about, their whatever problems they may have, potential problems they may have coming up. It could be cancer, it could be heart attacks, it could be cholesterol, etc., etc. So one is that. So health is certainly one of them. Like that, we may be able to find topics which are of relevance. Generally, what I found on the IIT WhatsApp groups, at least of my batchmates, etc., I find there is a preponderance of discussions on politics and religion and all that. So I think it's best to stay away from that, because we found generally these are very divisive topics. And we've also found that nobody really changes his or her opinion. So, everyone just keeps taking the same stand. So that is something we should definitely stay away from. And, health and, how to mentor your children, how to live, why the importance of leaving a will, so we can identify topics like that, which could be of interest to them, and get experts in those areas to give talks. I think that would interest the older age groups.
That is absolutely fabulous, because your points are, so well relevant. In fact, there is a wonderful person in our GCC group from London, Vijay. In fact, Vijay and I were having a chat this week only on creating a special interest group on health and well-being. So, Vijay, can you please unmute yourself and raise your hand? Vijay has been doing some phenomenal work, which he's been blending also a certain amount of spiritualism, and he's set up a number of centers across Europe. So in fact, I have asked him to, form a special interest group on health and well-being. So, after I finish up with Arvind, Vijay, I will get back to you. But it was such a timely connect, that I had to stop and I had to make this thing, So,
thank you very much.
Arvind, this was absolutely fabulous to catch up with you, and especially more so. But one last question that I have is that a lot of engagement from the IIMC community were in-person engagement. Now, in the COVID situation, that has come to a stop. So, has online activity supplemented that?
No, I'm afraid not. Not much. There were some attempts made, and I'm not talking just of IIM Calcutta, but even of the other IIMs also. But frankly, we found that the face-to-face contacts, alumni get-togethers, which were quite frequent in Delhi, there was no substitute for that, and we are gradually now going back to that. We've started that. See, the advantage with us is that we are a chapter specifically based at Delhi NCR. So by definition, we don't have members from the US or Australia or Mumbai, etc. So since we are all from Delhi, it's relatively easier for us to meet physically. And we've also subdivided that into 3 sub-chapters, you could say. So we have get-togethers in Gurgaon, in Noida, and in Delhi. So if, depending on the location you're in, you don't even have to, commute too much. So
absolutely right. So what you're saying is the importance of having local chapters to have a global as well as a local kind of an approach, and a blend accordingly, where the local community can meet and greet each other and become a closely knit, whereas the global really provides a broad platform for networking and for a whole lot of different value propositions. Absolutely lovely, Arvind. This has been great, and I do want to have a follow-through discussion with you. And I will get along a couple of other people, including Neeraj, who's based in Nigeria at the moment, including Anirban, who's based in Montreal, and including another lady, Aditi, who's based in California, for looking at it, and because there are 2 sides of this engagement process that we are talking about, because as I look at it, events, newsletters are just some mediums of engagement. They are just touch points of these. Now, the engagement can be at an emotional level, can be at a thought leadership level. So we have at one end the emotional connect which is happening. At the other end, we need to get some literary aspects, and at yet another level, we need to have thought leadership aspects. So we've got people of all kinds in GCC. So it'll be worth to pick up on that discussion later on. So with that, let's give a big round of applause to Arvind. And it was absolutely fabulous to pick up with so many of my class fellows today. And I'm kind of really enjoying. And this is what I found, the same thing when I presented the Kailash girls. This is what I found when I presented 1967 batch, that it provided an opportunity for people to kind of re-engage, although they'd still very much been engaged either through WhatsApp or otherwise. But that's what it is about. So thank you very much. Now, there was another item on the agenda today, which was, and just picking up on the threads, Arvind, we've also got a special interest group which is focused on mental health, which has become very important in the COVID environment. And the person who's driving this is a lovely guy. He's a 2019 graduate. He's based in Singapore. He has had one of his friends had a medical emergency, so he's had to drop out today. But we'll be picking him up in one of the later sessions. So with that, and once again, thank you, Arvind. And two more announcements before I close off. There are, along with supply chain special interest group, which is being led by Manmohan, along with health and well-being special interest group, which is being led by Vijay, along with mental health special interest group, which is being led by Smarth from Singapore. I'm also announcing one more special interest group, which is going to be focused on ESG, which is environment, social, and governance. And for the time being, I will lead that SIG till we find an appropriate leader to run with that. Now, Vijay, if you're still there, I would like you to just say two words about your thoughts about, health and well-being SIG.
Namaskar. Thank you, Pradeep. Yes, health and well-being has been my passion now almost for 55 years. When I started practicing yoga at the age of 5 in the family. And I almost completed 6 decades of my journey, and half of my journey has been to health and well-being. I run Indian Wellness Academy in UK and Shioham Institute in Gran Canaria, Spain. And there is a big team of volunteers which helps me. And I remember that we were talking the new normal in our global conference in 2020 together with you. And especially in COVID times, I have taken a new project and a new inspiration that there is now time has come when everybody has to become the author of their own health. It's no more that you leave it to somebody else and just you can not take care of yourself. So this is what is my new project, and this group which we are starting with special interest group health and well-being, that will be the main motto of the group, how to empower everyone, whether in India, abroad, everywhere. And we have a lot of good expertise to share, that there are very simple ways everybody can be the author of their own health. And I look forward to make a strong team which will advise regularly people, and there will be a lot of interactive sessions.
Thank you very much, Vijay. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is Pradeep signing off. Episode 11. Have a lovely morning, evening, night, and whatever it is you are part of the day. Enjoy your morning cup of tea, afternoon lassi, evening glass of wine. And we till next Saturday. Bye from